Second joke. Do you think that's an interesting thing that people might have put into their contracts now, that you could then you'd know when you were getting the heave? Yeah.
Well, you always know that the heave's going to come eventually, unless you're a Bob Paisley who's been there since, you know, Pussy was a cat at Liverpool. He's been there about 45 years, I think, you know.
And this is just for somebody like you, who's like myself, a fairly noisy Glaswegian individual. Do you think, as a manager, you perhaps prefer to be known as a Bob Paisley rather than be known as a...
Yeah, when I went to Chelsea and Joe Mears was there, he was the chairman, he was a tremendous fella. And I felt if he'd been alive today, I would have been known as a one-club man rather than a man of many clubs, because we had a fantastic relationship together, in as much that he was the chairman and I was the manager, and we worked very well together. And unfortunately, when he died, that came to an end.
Because a lot of people, you've been to, what, 13 clubs now?
If you're superstitious, 13, if you're not, 12.
So, but the difference being that you've only actually been sacked from 4 of them, is that right?
That's right, that's right.
And the rest of them you've left?
By mutual consent.
I think that's the third joke. And what was it you said? Something about, you've made an alluded to Jack Nicklaus at one time, saying that you had in fact been at more had more clubs than he had, is that?
Yeah, he's probably used them better than I have, actually.
And more coats than Bjorn Borg had as well.
And he's won a few cases as well, hasn't he?
I suppose so, yeah. If you had a chance to change things, that, you know, if you had a chance to go back to doing your life again, would you rather have been a one-club man, or have you learned from all the experiences that you've had?
I don't think you ever learn, because I think your destiny is in a lot of people's hands. Because you see, then when you were a football manager, people were a little bit more patient. They wanted success eventually. When you go to a club today, with the exception, there's 1 or 2 boards today, like the Ipswich directors are fantastic. If you get relegated to the 3rd division, they give you a 10-year contract. West Ham, a fantastic board as well. They're very, very patient. But by and large, lots of clubs today, they want success tonight, not tomorrow. And I think that's the difficult, not only with me, but with a lot of managers. They don't want to build anything for the future. They want success immediately. Do you think that the press have been responsible for, you know, encouraging that kind of attitude? Because it happens in my business as well, where people hardly get a record out and the press are onto them straight away. Now, I had the fortune or misfortune to wade through your press cuttings before I did this show, and there are a mountain of them, and I wonder if you feel that the press have hindered you in that by getting on to you about things. Or... No, a lot of what's happened to me has been, a lot of it's been my own responsibility. I've brought a lot of it on myself. I find the press, you know, they're sort of necessary evil, aren't they? You know, I think there's a place for the press, but they haven't dug it yet.
That's certainly the 4th joke, anyway. But, oh, Ripple, yeah, go on, help yourself.
You see, when you're in your business and my business, you know, the footballing press are quite good by and large. You know, they report the matches and they report things you say or do in the football world. But I think the news press, the news people, they are incredible. They don't care who they hurt or whose family they upset or disturb. They're a different breed altogether. And they tell you, they say, well, you're a personality, and you're trying to explain to them you've got a private life. They say, well, you haven't got a private life.
So you're referring now to your off-the-park incidents?
Oh, in general, the news people. You see, because the news people only deal with you now and again, whereas the football press, they might have to come back next week for a story, so they're very careful, by and large, what they say to you or what they say about your club or your team. But the news press, I think they're the scum of the earth. They just destroy you, and they couldn't care who they hurt. If you don't speak to them at all, they'll print a story anyway. And if you do speak to them, they'll print the story that suits them. So you find that a lot of the times that you've been quoted in the newspaper, it's not the thing that you've said? There's lots of times I've not even spoken to the news press, and there's a full page about you anyway. It's unbelievable, really. So do you think that, you know, you're talking about the football press, do you think you're going to come back into contact with them again? Are you going to enter the lists again of football management, or have you had enough for... Well, the way the game is going at the moment, you know, I enjoy all sports, and I don't care whether they're getting into football now at the moment or not, because the football at the moment is not all that clever at the moment. You know, the people are going away from football, not coming back. And when it excites me and appeals to me, when a fellow like me loses a little bit of enthusiasm for football, there's got to be something wrong with the game. So you wouldn't like to use this opportunity, if I may make a pun, to use this to make a pitch for another club? You wouldn't? Oh, no, not really. As I say, was the 5th joke, by the way. No, I'm on the dole and I'm available, and if a club wants to come for me, I would like it to be a club that's got some ambitions for the future, not for tomorrow morning.
And the burning question of the day for all of us people with this funny accent, forgetting about everything that's happened to Nicholas Fairbairn in the last 48 hours, the real burning issue of the day, of course, is will we beat Russia and will we beat Brazil and qualify for the quarterfinals?
Well, I think Scotland will qualify for their section anyway. They've got a very hard section with Russia and Brazil. But I think the pride that they have, I think they'll qualify, because the thing that worries me about the Russians, or did worry me, I'm not too worried now because Brezhnev's not in charge. If he was the coach, we'd have no chance. Because he would do a deal. And he would do some sort of deal where we wouldn't qualify anyway. But I think our lads, under Steen anyway, who's done a magnificent job, I think we'll qualify for the later stages of the World Cup. But I still think Argentina will win it. West Germany and Brazil will be in the semi-finals thereabout.
There you are. So all of you women who are sat at home now watching this programme can now tell your old man that they don't have to watch the World Cup in the summer, because Tommy has now completely encapsulated the entire tournament. We will, in fact, send a video of this interview over to Spain, and the rest of the competition will be rigged in much the same way as the draw was last weekend, which means that we can all spend our time in Spain as we ought to do, lying on the beach instead of sitting in a steamy football stadium. Tommy Docherty, I'd like to thank you for coming along and being our guest.
Thank you
and
for
I'd like
asking
you all
me.
to thank him.